Hi, everyone. It's Leanne West, and I'm president of the International Children's Advisory Network. I just want to welcome you today to Ask the Experts with Anthony Chang.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone for registering for this week's installment of Ask the Experts series. We are so happy to have you here on your Saturday. We really, really appreciate it. And we are so looking forward to you engaging with dialogue with our experts here, Sophie and Meg, who will be discussing the challenges and benefits of advocacy as a teenager. And we're going to go around and we're going to introduce ourselves as part of the iCAN team. So first, my name is Sabina Goldstein, and I'm actually a teacher and I'm director of educational programs and development at iCAN. Britley, if you want to go next. Oh, Britley, unmute. Sorry.
Hi, I'm the director here at iCAN, and I'm super excited to be here. My background is a lot in social work and therapy and community development and building programs in the community. So being able to be a part of iCAN is absolutely amazing. So thank you all for having me today. I'm so excited.
Hi, my name is Abby Clark. I'm iCAN's Communication and Digital Design Coordinator. We are so happy to have you all here today and can't wait to get started.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for those introductions. So again, I want to emphasize that this platform and Ask the Experts series is really about us dialoguing with the experts. So they're going to be providing a brief background about their advocacy, but we want to really ask them questions so that we can gain as much knowledge as possible from them. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Sophie to start by giving us a background, and she's going to be sharing her screen. And then Meg will go next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sophie Melencon, and thank you for inviting me here today to talk about teen advocacy. So I just wanted to start about on a little bit about myself. I live in Houston, Texas, which is in this area right here. I am currently a junior at Kinder HSPVA, which is a high school for visual and performing arts, where I play the violin, and I have for since I was 5. Another thing is I love cats. I like volunteering at my local Petco, cleaning, feeding, and playing with the cats. And I also do a lot of research during the summers, and I love presenting my work on that. So a little bit about my rare disease journey. I have Takay's arteritis, and what you see on this left side right here is when I was about 10 years old. I had lost about 20 pounds. I was very anemic, very sick looking, as you can see. And this middle picture right here is around 6th grade, where I was being treated, and I was on a lot of medications. As you can see, some of them had some side effects. I was on like prednisone, which made me puff up, as you can see. And this photo right here is on the right is about 2 years later, when I was in about 8th grade. As you can see, I look relatively closer to what I do now. But a little bit more on Takay's arteritis, which is my rare disease. It's a rare form of vasculitis, which causes inflammation of the large arteries, such as the aorta and its main branches. Only about 0.3 to 3.3 people per million per year are affected by this disease in the United States, but higher incidence in Asia and South America and the Mediterranean have been known, and this disease occurs worldwide. And it's also known as the pulseless disease because the inflammation of the blood vessel wall causes restricted blood flow in the arms and legs, which makes it difficult to feel a pulse. And as I said before, I was diagnosed when I was 10 years old, but I started advocacy around 2 years ago. So a little bit more about my journey into advocacy. I started by becoming a member of YARR, which is the Young Adult Rare Representatives. And yeah, so basically I found them online with my mom, and I decided to sign up. And they have a lot of great resources and programs, such as the Speakers Bureau, this is where I first learned how to formulate my personal story and talk about advocacy issues. And how to relay my story to that. And YARR also has monthly meetings that really help me keep up to date with various events and connect with other people in my community. And some of the events that I've actually attended that are facilitated by YARR is like the Teen Advocacy Day and Rare Across America. And I also plan to attend the Rare Disease Week in Washington, D.C. in February, which is really exciting. And some of the things I advocate for is facilitating opportunities for patients to interact with legislators and or agency officials, which is kind of what I'm doing here. I really hope to encourage you guys to get into advocacy. I also really support better access to the best treatment options at the earliest moment possible. And I have advocated for this before with senators and such with the Help Copays Act and newborn screening. I also really support the development of therapies for rare diseases, since about 93 to 95% of rare diseases don't have an FDA approved treatment plan, which can be really difficult to get things like insurance coverage for the best treatment options and such. And also, I'm really passionate about developing new medications and treatments for these diseases, since there's not a lot of specialized type of treatment options for many rare diseases. And so I do a lot of research and that actually pertains to these topics. So about 2 years ago, I did an internship at Texas Southern University, helping develop a slow release formulation of a novel therapeutic agent. Might be a mouthful, but it basically means that I formulated this tablet that can last a longer time than it had previously. So that means it could last an entire day. And as someone who used to take a lot of oral medications, I know how difficult it can be to remember to take all of them. So having a drug that's longer lasting can really help you remember to take your medications. And about a year ago, I did an internship at MD Anderson Cancer Center, where I helped fabricate a drug-loaded radiopaque reabsorbable medical device, which is basically just a medical device, which, as you know, is used in a lot of treatments of rare diseases. And I made it resorbable, which means that after you're done with it, it doesn't need to be surgically removed, which is really helpful for people like pediatric patients who grow and often need to have medical devices removed. But this won't be a problem with resorbable medical devices. That's really all I have to say for my intro, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask after Meg is done introducing herself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sophie. That was amazing. We love to hear about your research involvements and the why behind your advocacy. So Meg, if you could go ahead and share your screen. And if you have any questions about Sophie and her advocacy journey, you can always put them in the chat if you can't remember them, and then we can pose them to her after Meg goes.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan Barker and I'm a high school junior, as you can see. That's basically the intro. I didn't plan a whole lot of specifics simply because I knew that Sophie would be going into detail, and as you both know, or all know, I will be kind of having the same experiences as her, as we are both in Every Life's YARR program. So for the next slide, I have the programs that I've involved in. I've already touched on Every Life's YARR advocacy. As Sophie said, this is a very good group to be a part of if you want to make new friends, learn just the basics of advocacy, and really get connected with people that can help you. I know from my personal experience, I have already made a few friends that I know will last a long time and have helped me meet with many Congress people and local government as well. I'm a member of Cards to Warriors, which aims to send cards to rare illness warriors, people in the hospital, just anybody who could use a little bit of cheering up. I'm also a medical and social justice advocate. What that means is that I am not necessarily focused on anything in particular. I focus on trying to make sure that both medical and social justice are being achieved as much as possible. And that means that for medical, I want to focus on equality and making sure people have equal care. And for social justice, that people feel like they can feel equal, just in general. I've also been a part of the Soft Bones Foundation Teen Advisory Council, which is for a rare disease called hypophosphatasia. Now, my mom has this disease, and it basically means that your bones are soft. You have a low amount of ALP and phosphorus in your bones, which can make you very susceptible to breaking them, other rare diseases, other autoimmune diseases in general. These are the diseases that I have. None of them are rare, as you can see, but I try my best to make sure that I dabble in rare disease as much as possible, because I know many people with rare diseases such as Ehlers-Danlos, hypophosphatasia with my mom, and a friend of mine who has Ehlers-Danlos and cardiomyopathy. I have juvenile arthritis, which is the same thing as arthritis in general, except I'm younger. I have essential tremors, which means that I shake all the time, even right now. I have chronic pain and fibromyalgia. I have Sjogren's, which basically means that you are extremely dry. Now, I will say that does apply to my humor as well. And finally, I have alternating exotropia, which means that I only use one of my eyes at once. I may look like I'm looking at you, but I'm only using one eye or the other eye. And finally, I want to focus on just overall advocacy in general. I do a lot of research, I do a lot of public speaking, and I focus on social justice the most as I plan to go into criminal psychology. The reason I'm into criminal psychology is I find that criminals aren't necessarily all evil. They just have circumstances that made them who they are. I try my best to research using government websites. I have a lot of help from people like Abby and my own advisor at Every Life, Courtney. And I do a lot of public speaking, things like this, just to make sure that I can help kids my own age and maybe people a little bit older really feel comfortable in themselves and making sure they get the kind of attention that they deserve. And that is all I have for you today.
Thank you so much, Meg, for sharing, and your interest in criminology is very exciting for me because that was my major. And I absolutely love that your both of your willingness to advocate for other people as well beyond yourself. So that's very appreciated. And Abby went ahead and put the YARR link into the chat, and we strongly encourage you to join YARR because it's a great platform for you to work on your public speaking and really advocate for people with rare diseases. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up this space now for just general questions that you have about their advocacy journey. And you can put that in the chat, or you can go ahead and go on unmute and ask aloud to both of them. And just if you want to aim the question at someone directly, just say Sophie or Meg. So don't be shy, and you can go ahead, ask in the chat or aloud. And if no one comes up with anything yet, then I'm going to go ahead and direct a question at Sophie and then Meg, if you could answer after. So what challenges do you face with advocacy, like just speaking out about it?
So, in my personal experience, the greatest challenge I face in advocacy is I had never actually attended a public speaking class before joining YARR. So I thought the speakers bureau was really helpful because like they actually help you with like a master class kind of thing to help you like try and formulate a story. They also give you a lot of templates. And I know like when I join events, Courtney is always there to help me like come up with something to say, and they give really great support for this type of thing. But yeah, since I've done more advocacy, I feel really more comfortable now. Yeah,
that's great, Sophie, and you're very articulate, so I can tell that it's definitely helped you. I don't know how you were speaking before, but you're very articulate. Okay, Meg, if you can go ahead and share.
Well, actually, a lot of people probably don't know this, but I am very introverted. I have problems speaking, anything that has to do with talking to people. I'm okay with written, but if it's talking and using my voice and trying to speak up, it's very hard for me, especially because growing up, my family was always extremely loud and extroverted, and it was hard for me to get a word in. And so just gradually, I began realizing that I may not be the best speaker. I may not have all the qualifications, but I do have the emotional element, and that is really the most important thing.
I just want to say I love the work that you all are doing. I love the work that you're doing in advocacy in general. And it seems as if you all are so passionate about it, just the way you speak about it, the way you present it. And I am just completely impressed. And the fact that you said that you feel like you're not a great speaker, Meg, you are an amazing speaker, girl. You are great. And I have one question. I was wondering, why is it important for young people to be involved in advocacy? Why do you all feel that?
I know for me personally, I find that it's really important for like young adults to advocate, because I know that pediatric patients also have a voice, and their needs can often be different from what adults need. I know that when I was like really sick, I was very confused and I didn't understand what was happening to me. So I feel like it's important for pediatric patients to also voice their issues and such.
For me, it's hard for me because I am actually recently diagnosed with all these things. It's all come kind of as a shock, as I was always the healthy one in my family. And I realized that even though my mother was trying to help, she couldn't always speak for what I was feeling. And what I was feeling was probably the most important. So if I didn't want to be on, antidepressants, or if I didn't want to be on prednisone, I had to speak up for myself. And I realized that there are kids my age that may not feel that way and they feel like they can't speak up at all. And so that's why I got in to what I'm doing, is to maybe help other kids realize that they have a voice on their own.
Oh, guys, those are awesome, awesome answers. We actually have some people who are more interested in what you have to do and in the chat, and they're asking Michelle, she said, she wants to know how you guys were so involved in research at such a young age. She says, I'm often turned away because I am underage.
I can actually talk a little bit about this. So yeah, that's kind of true. For actual intern work, you usually have to be 16 to get into an actual research lab. But I know that there are other options for kids that are younger. Like, for example, there are summer camps that cater towards something like this and getting you ready for actual research. And there are also a ton of like after school programs, which you can get connected to if you maybe talk to your teachers. I know that my science teacher, if you asked him, he would like look for opportunities for his students. And you can try going online and searching these things up, or maybe go to the library to see if they have any flyers or anything, but there usually are some options for kids that are a little bit younger.
And I do have something to add to that as well. Sorry, Abby.
Go ahead, Meg. You got it.
But I'm homeschooled, so I don't have the opportunities that people in school usually do. So when I hit 15, I knew that I had more opportunities than when I did at 14. So I started researching all sorts of groups and coalitions, and I came up with a couple. A few I didn't get into just because there are limited spots. But if you are over 16 or almost there, I really would recommend YARR, because a lot of the stuff that I have done, like this, or just going to meetings and things like that, are as a result of that. And for other things, if you're more interested in social justice, I recommend Advocates for Youth, because they have many different programs. A lot of the times it's online. You don't even have to be a part of meetings. You can just meet with somebody one-on-one and be like, this is what I want to accomplish. And they'll try to make sure that they can put you in the budget, or they can do other things and get you connected to anyone that they need to.
Oh,
Thank you
wow.
so much. I just wanted to hop on real quick and add that iCAN will not necessarily always provides research itself or avenues to participate in research itself, although sometimes we do, is a way to feel free to use iCAN as a platform to showcase any research that you want to do. And so that could be research that you've worked on with a laboratory, with, you know, scientists, with a hospital, or that could be just your own personal interest in research as well. iCAN is happy to kind of share your thoughts and ideas as a young person via our website, our social media, and then also we have a poster session at our annual summit every year that we would encourage everyone to submit to their abstracts for the research. Even if you aren't able to attend in person, we still want to make sure that your thoughts and your research is heard, and that could be anything from the type of work that Sophie and Meg is doing all the way down to your science fair project. So thank you both so much.
That's right. That's right, Abby. We want to do everything we can to help you all demonstrate your work and also have a voice in the research that you do. I think, Samina, do we have some more people in the chat that have questions, I think?
Yeah. So Samantha posed, she wanted to know how you integrate or combine your advocacy and scientific research work, because as she gets older, she doesn't want one to overshadow the other. So how do you like combine it or keep it separate?
So kind of my thought process to this, because I'm really passionate about advocacy and research, as you know, is that the type of scientific research work I do, I love to connect to problems concerning the rare disease community and possibly get on projects that could possibly benefit them. And also, as you talk about your research work, you can also, when you're talking to like other scientists about it, you can talk about why it's important, why you're doing certain things. Like, as I said before, I did like a pharmaceutical internship on like developing a slow release formulation. Like I would talk about why slow release formulations are helpful for rare disease patients who have to take a lot of medications, and yeah, why I'm so interested in it, because people often don't really give much thought, you know?
Thank you, Sophie. How about you, Meg?
I wanted to add that a lot of the times, even though they are separate, they're also not separate in a way. So let's say you wanted to do research on ELSA, the Ensuring Lasting Smiles Act, and you didn't know that anybody would support you, and you couldn't get into any colleges and try and help you out. A lot of programs actually will help you. So for YARR and the Soft Bones Foundation, they both were very helpful with my research, tried to help me create a wonderful presentation, and it was shared everywhere. I got lots of responses for it. I also got good work with other experience because I had worked with many other people in the Soft Bones Foundation and their teen council. And I was actually talking about this with my mother last night. It's a little bit different, but it's a good example. My goal is to become a criminal profiler, not be an advocacy. I love advocacy, and I think it's super important, but it's not what I want to do. And recently I got an opportunity to be a congressional speaker for a act, and my mom is against it, and I'm on the edge. So you kind of have to think, is it going to help you in the future? Will it help you with your career goals? Will it help you do something that you want to do? Because even if it's not what you want to do in the future, if it's something that you're passionate about, you can make a way. Any way is possible as long as you are 100% into it.
I completely agree with that, Meg. But also, if you're going the route of criminal justice, you are still being an advocate for people as well. So, you know, you can create those ties within advocacy. Brittany, if you wanted to go ahead and ask the next question by Pamela.
Sure. So Pamela said, can you please tell us more about what you are doing to advocate for the Help Copays Act? And then she says, are you using voter rights, your voter voice? I'm sorry. And I know you all may not be actually in that voting age right now, so this may be a little bit of a different answer for you, but if you can answer it the best way you can, that would be amazing.
Oh, you can go first if you want, Sophie. Okay, I guess I'll go. I am actually not of voting age, and I don't believe Sophie is either. Um, I'm 16. I think she is as well. And so the ways that I personally am doing that is I'm posting about it. I'm trying to just talk about it in more ways than one, on Instagram, emailing, just talking to other groups that I'm in if they may not be voting about it, and talking to adults that can be a voter. Because if you can help sway them towards what you believe is the right cause, then you can actually have them vote for you and they don't even realize, which sounds a little wrong. But you're just advocating for what you believe in. And if you can convince them that it's a good cause as well, you can do that as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with Meg. I'm actually not of voting age, but I like to talk about the Help Copays Act to whoever I can, especially adults. But I had the chance to actually speak in an event about the Help Copays Act. So if you were to be able to speak about it in like an actual event, yeah, actually, sorry. Yeah, I was able to actually speak to one of the senator and my House of Representative staff about it. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. I think that's just shows the importance of youth advocacy. Even if you aren't of voting age, you are still able to go out and make a real impact and a real difference. And I think that that's amazing. And it's definitely, don't be afraid because you are a certain age that you can't think you can advocate, because even if you aren't able to, put down your vote, or you aren't able to join, an 18 or older research lab or something like that, you're still able to make a real change and a real difference. And I think kind of nothing showcases that more than kind of this call right here. So appreciate that answer, Sophie and Meg. I think we still had a couple of more questions as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Go ahead, Abby. Let's go ahead and you can go ahead and pick one out the chat.
Okay, sounds good. So I think the next one is from Megan. So she says, for both of you, what would you say were the first steps as becoming your own disease advocate? As a patient with a rare disease myself, I can relate that it may take a lot to open up about experiences with the disease. So I was wondering what it took for you to break the barrier of your comfort zone and become an advocate.
Wow, such a great question.
Sophie, go ahead.
So basically I had never actually spoken about my story before or reached out to anyone about my experience as a rare disease advocate before I joined YARR, which I really recommend doing. But because they had such like a great community, I attended their monthly meetings where sometimes they would talk about some of the struggles they face, and we have kind of like a story time type of thing. And the speakers bureau, it's really nice because all the people around you are also learning how to tell their story. And it's a really great community. And also trying first talking to your friends or family about your experiences with disease could maybe help ease you into this, or maybe classmates, perhaps. Yeah.
So thank you, Sophie.
The first step, even though it'll sound a little bit wrong or a bit of a joke, is actually having the disease. Because once you have the disease, it's a whole different ballgame from just hearing about it from friends or family that they have arthritis or they have osteoporosis. And a lot of times, you only hear about the people that are older that have diseases. You don't hear about kids your age. And it's hard because everybody will tell you, oh, you're too young. You shouldn't have this. Why is it that you have it and most kids don't? And that's when you start realizing that you have to tell people that there are kids. There are a lot more kids than you would ever expect that have diseases or rare diseases or know somebody with a rare disease. And the first step is really understanding. And the second step would be knowing that if somebody else doesn't and you don't, then nobody will speak up about that fact. And why can't it be? Even if you're not the best speaker or you can't articulate your thoughts in the correct way, that's still better than nobody saying that. And once you learn to advocate for yourself and you learn that you can speak up for yourself, and it's so much easier than you would ever imagine once you get past trying to get heard in the first place and get past anxiety, then you can start to learn how to advocate for other people.
Oh my gosh, Meg and Sophie, those are great answers. And just being able to advocate for yourself is one thing, but like you said, having a voice and advocating for others takes things to a whole nother level. So that is awesome. I think we have another question by Miss Denise, and she says, I'm impressed that you are advocating for yourself and glad that you are sharing about it to help others find their voice. Have you considered sharing your experience as a patient speaker advisor through I think it's the Barrel Institute?
Yeah, it looks like that Denise put a link to the Barrel Institute, and so we're really excited. Thank you, Denise, for putting that in there. And we'll go ahead and continue to share those resources. It's always great to have more and varied avenues of being able to share your voices and young professionals. And in this call, we have 3 now, which is exciting, with the Barrel Institute, YARR, and then also the iCAN program. Sophie and Meg, have either of you heard or worked with the Barrel Institute?
I have heard of them. I have a friend that really loves their work and loves working with them. I have not actually considered working with them before, but Denise, I definitely will be looking into it after this.
Yeah, I have never personally heard of this institute, but I'll definitely check it out after the call.
Awesome, ladies. Did anybody have any more questions that they wanted to ask?
I think we had one from Michelle. Michelle says she doesn't have any rare diseases, but would love to advocate for those who do. Can she still join YARR? Now, I'm not sure about that. I don't know if Meg or Sophie, you all know the rules. If not, I can totally ping Courtney Fell, who's the YARR coordinator for you, Michelle, and we can get that answer to you.
I actually can answer that.
Awesome.
Even on the genetic phase, and I know that I probably do have a rare disease, I currently do not have one. I just have a connection. You don't have to have a connection to join. You don't have to have a rare disease. You don't have to have any kind of disease at all. Just as long as you're interested in talking about disease in the first place. It may seem like rare representatives that it's just about advocating for rare diseases. But Courtney has told me many times that even if you don't have a rare disease, she can still connect you with somebody with juvenile arthritis or something like that, and make sure that you can advocate for those areas as well.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And Meg, there's a little bit of static on your end, so I'm just going to repeat a little bit of what what you said there. So the answer is no, you do not have to have a rare disease to be a part of YARR. They really encourage anyone who is wanting to advocate for those for rare diseases to join. And feel free to click the link that I put in earlier about YARR on how to do that, as well as email me or with any other, or Britley, for any other questions about how to join YARR, and we will connect you to Courtney as well. And so then you can get connected to awesome people like Meg and Sophie. I will also say that there are different ways within iCAN as well to advocate for those with rare and chronic diseases. And so if you have any interest in being a part of that, we have a youth council that goes above and beyond general iCAN activities in different ways to share your voice as a kid, and then also experience or also participate in other additional advocacy groups. So thank you so much for your question, Michelle. I think we had another question come through for Pamela. Pamela says, you guys are terrific. I agree. My young son is here with me, but you both have a rare disease, and she started advocating as a teenager. She turned it into a 25-year career As a researcher and rare disease advocate, you guys give me so much hope, and then for the next generation, research and advocacy definitely needs you. Okay, so not a question, but an awesome statement and comment. Thank you so much, Pamela. And I agree, and I would also go on to say that advocacy can start as young as everyone here, and it's also something that you can continue to do older. It's also something you can take a break from if you need to, and then go back to. So the work of advocacy is always so important, and we'll be there whenever you feel like you want to take up the mantle and start doing the work. And we encourage at iCAN everyone of every ages to come on and start doing that. I think that's the last question we have from the chat. These were awesome questions. Thank you so much, you guys, for answering. If you have any more throughout the rest of the call, feel free to continue to put them in there, and we'll call them out a little bit more. Let's see. So we have a couple of questions that we had drawn up, and I think one is, are there any specific, and we may have already asked this, Brittany, but do you all have any specific, challenges that have, you've discovered in your journeys of advocacy, and how have you worked to overcome them? If we've already kind of touched on that question, let me know, but we can definitely kind of dive back in.
I did have something else I wanted to share that I forgot about. And I forgot about it again. But the challenge that you can face a lot of the times, the main issue, even though some might not want to hear this, is yourself and your own anxiety. For me, I have written many Congress people. I've even written the White House, which I did receive a response from the White House. I don't know if that was just a pre-drawn up one about a young advocate or not, but either way, I'm very grateful. And a lot of the times, they're so astonished to even hear from anyone younger than 18 or 21 that they will respond to you and they will meet with you. And I've met with maybe 10 people in the past year about, advocacy in the government area. And people at iCAN, people at YARR, people just in general will try their best to help you no matter how young you are, because it's so rare, no pun intended, for a kid to want to speak up for themselves.
Yeah, I completely agree with Meg. Something I really struggle with is I sometimes get really nervous before talking to a large audience, but something I found that really helped that might help you is actually kind of writing out some of the things you might say, or like kind of formulating questions you think might come up, especially if you're trying to advocate for a certain legislation or such. Making sure to do all the research beforehand and learn as much information as you can be really helpful in just calming yourself and remembering that you know about this and that you put in the preparation beforehand. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, you guys, for answering that. And adding some little kind of tips and ways to kind of overcome any nervousness or anxiety, I think would be really helpful for anyone who's starting, out in advocacy. Going through trainings like YARR is definitely a great way to do that. But Sophia and Megan just added a few more helpful small tips as well. So in your journeys with advocacy, are there any specific kind of highlights or events that you've done that you want to kind of expand on a little bit more?
Sure, I can go in there. I know Sophie has a lot of things, so I'll make mine a little bit briefer, because I'm already so impressed with Sophie. Like, everything she's done is amazing. For me, when I was still a part of the Soft Bones Teen Council, all of us.
Oh, sorry there. I think your mic's gone a little bit. Let's see. Maybe you can join from your phone. We can't hear you. It kind of cut out. Okay, so it's good. So Sophie, I'm going to let you go, and then we're going to come back for Meg.
Okay, so some of the things I'm really proud of in my advocacy journey so far is I've spoken to both of my senators and House of Representatives staff members in Teen Advocacy Day and Rare Across America, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, I spoke about the Help Copays Act to my one of the senator staff and to my House of Representative. I also tried to convince them to join the Rare Disease Caucus, but unfortunately the senators have not joined yet. But I hope to maybe accomplish that in the future. But yeah, that's probably the highest I've gone so far. Yeah.
That's so exciting. It's such an amazing kind of experience to be able to speak to your senators through those platforms.
Yeah. That is awesome. So tell me this, you said that they haven't joined in what you said. In your advocacy journey, have you encountered any misconceptions or like myths related to the cause of your support? And then how do you address them as well?
You said misinformation about it or
Conceptions.
misconceptions.
Mhm.
They're always definitely surprised when I'm talking to them, especially like because I'm talking to like the staffers and they're usually a little bit younger. So they're just like, what are you doing here? I'm just like doing advocacy, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, and they're kind of also sometimes surprised on how many people rare disease affects. Like it's not just the patients, but it's everyone else too, like the families and stuff, which I think is important to clear up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Meg, do you want to try and see if we can
Does it work?
Yes. It's
Yes.
awesome. Technical like difficulties are always a challenge.
We mentioned this on the call before, but I always said that it was Courtney, so maybe it's just me. But I'll go back to it. I'll circle around. I'm sorry I missed Sophie's part. But I had done a thing with a rare disease pharmacy called Melencon, and we presented a kit for kids with hypophosphatasia, which, as I mentioned, is a rare disease affecting your bones. And they were super impressed. Just even the fact that we had a 7-year-old do a presentation part of it, and he did super well. Everyone was so shocked and so happy. And even if you screw up, you're still doing better than they would expect because you're still a kid. And so I think that's the most important part to mention.
I agree, ladies. Absolutely. Thank you for those answers. Thank you so much. That is so true. Your voice still matters no matter your age, no matter what. You still have a voice and it matters. I think we have someone has a question for you all in the chat. Samantha says, oftentimes there are several legislative issues that I believe need more funding providing to rare disease research, especially pain management research. However, often there are no specific acts or pieces of proposed legislation that cover that realm. They are just general topics request. Even with the absence of legislative acts that cover these issues, do you still think that there are ways to bring these issues to your legislators' attention? Did we ask this one already? But
no, this one's new. Yeah, so that's a great question, Samantha. And it just in general for any legislative acts that don't yet exist for issues like different like pain management, like disease research.
Wonderful question.
Yeah, wonderful question. So Megan, Sophie, are there any do you think there are different ways to bring the issues to legislators' attention, even if there aren't already acts proposed?
There are many ways. You can email. As I mentioned, email is a good way to get in contact with legislators. If it's somebody local, like your mayor, you can probably just call and set up an appointment to go deeper in depth. But you can also just keep writing. the more you write and the more you call them, the more they have to respond because it seems more urgent. And if they're not listening to somebody that's called 10, 20 times, then they could probably get in trouble for not responding to their community a little bit. So that would be my tip. Sophie, do you have anything?
Yeah, one of the ways I've actually figured out how to sneak a little more of my what I think are big issues into like getting like to legislators is I got onto a call with my House of Representatives staffer, and since like I'm the only one who showed up, I had 30 minutes to talk about whatever. And so I just started talking about how we need more rare disease research and such. And I think that's a really good way. If you're ever talking about them on another topic, you can maybe connect what you want to talk about additionally to what you're trying to say. Another way maybe is like getting other people in your maybe rare disease community to support this cause, and maybe if you get a big enough group you can maybe garner more attention. But yeah, that's just some ideas.
Awesome, ladies. One more question. I was wondering how, because you're doing such amazing work and you're doing so much, how do you handle burnout or fatigue, considering the emotional toll that advocacy work can have sometimes? How do you deal with that?
Well, for me, Brittany, I get a lot of burnout, especially because I'm trying to do a lot of school and I'm preparing, and I still have to go to Vanderbilt every few weeks due to my medical issues. So for me, it's a lot easier to deal with advocacy burnout than it is to deal with school burnout, because advocacy is something that you want to do and something that is needed. Not that school isn't needed, but it does get a little bit tiring on that end. And even if you get on the call and you're like, okay, I'm really tired today, you can still try your best and it'll be done really well. And I recommend putting together a playlist because I have a really bad headache right now. But I started a playlist and it just lifted my mood and I felt a lot more energized and able to handle doing something like this.
One thing I find that helps with if you're feeling overwhelmed or too tired to do things sometimes is to take it slowly. You could like start to write what you're going to say like maybe a few weeks in advance if you're given that option, like just to really think about and like process like that entire thing. Or you can maybe get help or reach out to others for some ideas or assistance. I know that Courtney helps me a lot sometimes with like coming up with things to say and like checking my work and such. Yeah.
I actually have something to add. That's the most important thing, I think. If you feel burnout just to the point where you can't do it, you don't have to say yes. Even though it's important, your own mental and physical health is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Self-care is most important over anything, especially because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't help others. You can't advocate for others. So I absolutely agree, Meg and Sophie. Those are great answers. Great answers. Abby, we are almost to the end. Did you want to add anything, or Sabina, did you want to add anything before we go, or have any questions before we go?
I just wanted to say thank you to both of you. You both are so strong in, your spoken skills, and also being an advocate at such a young age, I'm sure is no easy feat. But you both are doing an amazing job for your own communities as well as other communities with rare diseases. So kudos to both of you. And thank you for coming and speaking to iCAN and its affiliates and just spreading awareness about YARR and the ability to actually go and speak on behalf of the rare advocate community. And then also, I wanted to emphasize that for next month, we do have another Ask the Experts, and that session will feature Joe Chiani, who is the CEO of Massimo, and he essentially created the pulse oximeter that you see when you go into like the ER and they check your pulse. So we really, really want to urge you to come on to next month, which is on December 9th at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, to ask him any questions. He immigrated from another country. He was at the very bottom and he rose to the top of the field of innovation. So next month is going to be an amazing session, as well as this month was an amazing session with our two featured speakers, and we cannot thank you enough for your advocacy, and we know that you are making change. So thank you to the both of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sabina. And thank you again for shouting out next month. We're really excited. I went ahead and put that link in the chat, so if anyone wants to check it out and also like pre-register, it's of course free and welcome for everyone to join. I did want to say that, you know, in the last 5 minutes, if anyone has any questions that pop up that we aren't able to answer, feel free to write them in the chat or email me directly, and we'll make sure those questions get passed along and answered for you. We do kind of just like to kind of end the session with asking, you know, our speakers, we have a lot of young people on the call. We have a lot of young people who will see this video via the recording. Anywhere, you know, from the ages of 8, 7 years old, all the way up through kind of early career, and then parents and adults as well. So keeping in mind kind of the audience of that kind of young people who may not, you know, be familiar with advocacy, do you all have any, you know, last minute advice for anyone who wants to get started in advocacy or is kind of continuing their journey or new to advocacy? Everything we've already said on the call has been an amazing experience, but if you have any like last minute tips and tricks sort of thing.
I would just say go for it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I really wasn't expecting anything when I like joined YARR. Honestly, I got a lot farther than I thought I would, so I would just say just try, you know?
That's awesome.
What about you, Meg? Anything else?
I would just say go for it, be yourself, even if you think that you're weird and quirky and you could never do anything at all. Chances are you can, and you're going to do an amazing job. And you know, if you ever get to the point where you need somebody to talk to that isn't, you know, your advisor, and you want somebody to be there, you can find me on Instagram, find me on YARR, and I will try my best to help you and be there for you and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much again to you, Sophie, and you, Meg, for joining. To everyone else who joined, I think this was a fantastic session. I will be posting and sending out the recording for the Zoom on Monday. And so if anyone wants to join that, and feel free to rewatch and continue to soak up this awesome bits of information. And also, you know, share it on your own social medias. That would be awesome. Like I said, if there are any other lingering questions, feel free to email me and I'll make sure Sophie and Meg get a chance to answer those. That being said, I think we are right about at time. And so we just wanted to thank you all again for so much for joining. I think this was an amazing session.
Sorry, just to end, we would appreciate it if you could all take the survey in the chat, just so that we know what direction to go with ATE and what topics you're interested in and what went well with today. And we appreciate all your feedback.